the end of April, Bukayo Saka could be back.
They shut down the VAR. They should run around. They should jog around. They shouldn't just sit and stand and watch. When you bring back a player too quickly, he's more prone to cause a mistake than win you a game.
They will be desperate to get him back, but then, yeah, you're right. You don't want
Only if he's the player you think of him in your head. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want a guy who's 70%. The reason why there are more hamstring injuries than there were 20 years ago. There's twice as many now than there were 20 years ago.
Why?
Well,
hi and welcome along to AFTV. We are here with another edition with Dr. Andre from Oxford Natural. It's great to have you here again. I've got some questions for you.
Yeah.
First of all, as we always say, I got to salute you again. The weight is still dropping off. Yeah. I'm still, taking the Optimum Night, the Optimum Day, and it's still doing good for me. And the Elixir.
Oh yeah, the elixir.
That's
the elixir. Oh, it can be the harder one to explain the value of things like DNA repair and metabolism enhancement. But elixir is incredible. It has NMN, it has fucoidin, quercetin, fancy words that mean will repair your DNA. It's one thing to be fit and healthy right now, great, but also as months and years go by, fixing DNA, repairing the errors, so we age less quickly and we're healthy for longer. Plus your B vitamins and D, and also vitamin D, which is a massive issue. People with darker skin really struggle to get adequate vitamin D in this country, and vitamin D is heavily in the elixir as well.
Wow. So I didn't even realise vitamin D is in it. So
I probably should have told you that.
Huh?
I probably should have told you that. But it's a big vitamin D deficiency, Asian community, black community, massive problem.
No sunshine there, is there?
Yeah, just your skin's just way too good at deflecting the sunshine, so you don't get the penetration here. I have so many patients that we do our routine blood screens, low vitamin D, and that makes you feel exhausted, tired, moody. The more severe cases, the bones start to break down, but really day to day, it's more this feeling of exhaustion, fatigue, and that's wrapped up into the elixir along with all your vitamin B vitamins as well.
Okay, well listen guys, if you want to get any of them products, right, the link is in the description. You can also get a 10% discount.
I think your first off, I think it's 50% off your first one.
50% off your first offer. Come on, right? Come on, it's working for me. The link is in the description. Get involved right now. But I'm here to ask you about Bukayo Saka, because we got some news on Bukayo Saka today, right? Let me just get the quotes. This is from the manager, Mikel Arteta. He was asked about Saka's fitness and when he will be returning to Arsenal. And he said, after the international break, let's see where he is, right? His progress is really good. He's really willing, as we can imagine. We are positive that in a few weeks, hopefully he will be back. The international break coming up after the Chelsea game, then there's a couple of weeks off. I don't think we've played games for nearly 2 weekends, right? So we're talking the end of April, Bukayo Saka could be back. Now, when we say he's back, number one, I wanted 2 questions. Do you think they're rushing him back too early? Because I remember you always saying that, surgery to your hamstring, you're talking 4 to 6 months recovery. That would take up to about 4 months, right? So are we bringing him back too early? And secondly, will he be able to just come straight back in, or is it an ease back in thing with him?
Well, I think 4 months is really pushing the envelope, I would say, of what is aggressive rehabilitation. It could happen, it could be that. Obviously, it comes down to how he is responding to the rehab. And once he gets into the sports-specific rehab, the actual football nature of rehab, if he's tolerating that and he's pain-free, also provided the power has returned. Obviously, he's been out for a while. What will muscles do if you don't use them? They're going to wither. So has that power returned? Is it the same as the other leg? And that's obviously what they've got to make sure. You can't rush a player of his quality back too soon. I don't see the value in bringing him back as a crazy urgent thing when...
Well, we've got the Champions League. That's the urgent thing. I mean, we've got we're probably going to be up against, we're going to be up against one of the Madrids.
Yeah.
We do. I think they will be desperate to get him back, but then, you're right. You don't want
only if he's the player you think of him in your head. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want a guy who's 70% prone to make errors, mistakes, not be able to chase back the same. So he's got to be sports specifically fit and ready. If that's the case, if in training he can do all the things the other players do, he's back to previous power, then there's no logical reason not to have him on the field if he can do the things he did before and do all the sport specific things. If he wasn't there, you wouldn't want to rush him back, just 80% fit or something, fit for 20 minutes of the game. I hate that sort of thing. He's back, but only fit for 20 minutes. I mean, you never know that about a player, fit for 20 minutes. Fit for the game or not fit for the game. And I say, when you bring back a player too quickly, he's more prone to cause a mistake than win you a game, usually.
Yeah.
So intrinsically, the take-home message is, if he can do all the sports-specific rehab, and he's regained his previous power, strength and fitness, there's no numerical reason in terms of months why he shouldn't return. It's not a fixed in stone, nothing beyond these months. It's purely down to the individual, how they've responded, how fit they are, day to day in training.
As a doctor, right, would the football club be coming to you then to ask that question? Like, you've worked at football clubs.
Yeah.
Would it be, whose decision is it that he comes back? Would it be the doctor's decision and say, right, listen, we've assessed him, completely ready, he can go? Or could the manager have a big say over, like, you know what, Champions League games coming up, got Real Madrid, FA Cup, we need him, even if he's 70%, we need him now. Whose decision does it fall down on?
So, I mean, it can be complex in that way. Ultimately, it would be the rehabilitation physio. They're the ones who've done him day to day. They are the specialists in terms of the rehab that way. They must be the loudest voice. The manager can want stuff, it's great, but it's got to come down to the medical team being safe and happy. Beyond that, it is just simply, you're just taking a chance on the player. And the player also has a right in this as well, as to that whether they feel they're ready, not just simply, I don't think a player could be told, oh, you've reached 70%, we'd like you to play now. It doesn't really ring as a good idea, that at all.
It can work the other way though, where the player's trying to force it and say, I'm ready, and he ain't ready.
Yeah, so you see, like any complex decision in any business, you've got 4 or 5 voices, and when they all come to the same decision, excellent. When there's a battle over things, it often leads to errors and problems, and you're just basically taking a chance on it. So there's the wise way of doing it, and there's the impulsive, we need you way of doing it. One is just very high risk. Sometimes it pays off. Other times it leads you weeping into your tea. Why didn't we just follow the rule book?
Yeah. And if he does come back, what was really interesting a while ago is you said that you want a player that can come back and play the whole 90. But we see players come back all the time. They're really eased in. Do you think he'd be one that would be eased in after having surgery on a hamstring?
I think generally you might ease the player back in out of respect to the player, because there are certain tensions about playing a game of football on a Saturday or Sunday, which you just can't recreate. Now we were saying before, I threw it in a chat before about the reason why there are more hamstring injuries than there were 20 years ago. There's twice as many now than there were 20 years ago.
Why?
Well, one of the main reasons is the change in the game in terms of the high defensive line and press. So you're having to sprint way more than you used to. Sprint forward, sprint back. So that's clearly putting a lot of demand on the sprinting muscle, which is your hamstring. Then you have to replicate the game in training. So there's more sprinting in training than before. And I said to you that VAR might be an issue, and you sort of laughed at me. Like, you can't blame VAR for everything. Okay.
What has VAR come into this?
The problem is getting cold. Okay? And when you get cold, and then you ask the muscle to then reactivate and sprint again, you put yourself at a slight risk. So what does VAR do to the game length? And also it increases the length of the game. And what happens when the player's warm and hot and they're playing and there's a 7-minute delay for VAR or whatever, they go cold. They stand around, they take drinks, but they don't really keep running around, which they should do, to keep the muscle warm. So games are being extended, and this increases your chance of injuries with an explosive injury like the hamstring. So these little things all play a part. They're subtle, but they are definite changes from 20 odd years ago. So going back to the idea of, well, if he comes back, I mean, he needs to be ready, but obviously you can't recreate VAR and tension and push and pull and be angry with somebody. You can't recreate that environment. So you might bring him back gradually to get used to that, but intrinsically he must be fit. Okay, it's nice to bring him back gradually for all those other imponderables and unknowns about a game of football, but intrinsically in training he should be fit as all the others.
Wow. And the other thing I wanted to ask, sort of finally, is that a lot of times when players come back off of these long-term injuries, they end up picking up other things. The one that's always like calf seems to come into it. They just seem to pick up niggles elsewhere. Is that all to do with those muscles not being used a lot? Why is that?
Yeah, well, essentially when the hamstring's complicated, we said before, because it crosses two joints, the hip and the knee. And often the bicep part, there's two parts of your hamstring, one on the outside, one on the inside. And the bicep part has two heads to it, the long muscle and the short muscle. And they join together. There's a zone where the muscle becomes the tendon called the T-zone. And that's the most complicated bit. And it's like almost having two brothers that have grown up playing football together. Okay, one's bigger than the other one, okay? And then they stop playing, they come back, and they haven't quite got the coordination back, they haven't got that intrinsic understanding anymore. And one pulls more than the other. And maybe you start using the other muscles to try and get the explosion, because it isn't there in the hamstring itself. Then you put more duress than on lower muscles. You're trying to get that force out, and you wind up using other muscles not quite designed for it. So again, a too early return, you're putting strain upon other muscles and increasing the risk you injure those as well.
All right. Well, listen, that's been really fascinating. VAR having something to do with injuries, I never thought. But it does make sense, because you've seen, especially like last season, and actually this season, you've seen like 8 minutes, 10 minutes added on to games.
Yeah.
So all that time in play, that's really. I never really thought of it.
I always think players should, when they shut down for VAR, they should run around. They should jog around. They shouldn't just sit and stand and watch and chat to each other, take water, talk tactics. I think they should be moving, keeping the muscles moving.
We're glad for the little break.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Well, listen, Dr. Andre, thank you very much. Once again, people, just tell them again about those wonderful products that you have as well.
Yeah, so Optimum Day and Night is your metabolic booster, the way to get you feeling fantastic day and night, helping to control mood, appetite, sleep, weight. The Elixir is the anti-aging product. It's a phenomenal way to repair DNA over the years and basically de-age or slow the rate of aging. They're fantastic products, and you should really look them up if you can.
Yeah, I've been swallowing about 20 of them every day to try to cut the age back. No, I haven't really. I'm only joking, right? But yeah, I'm taking all of those, mate. And yeah, I feel the improvements. I really do. So thanks very much for watching the video. As I said, the link is in the description for those products, up to 50% off your first order. Once again, Dr. Andre, thank you. And let's hope Saka comes back very soon, but in one piece and is fit and ready to go.